What's up? Spartacus here, back for another Blackrock Mountain preview. So literally, like 2 minutes ago, these new cards were revealed, and I looked at them, and honestly, I already know my assessments of them because they're pretty straightforward. So I'm going to get this video out early and tell you guys what I think of the 3 new cards that were revealed, all dragon cards. So let's just kick it off right now with the Volcanic Drake. Volcanic Drake is a 6 mana, 6/4 neutral minion. That costs 1 less for each minion that died this turn. So similar to Dragon's Breath, which we saw the other day, in that the cost is lowered for each minion that dies earlier on the turn. So this is kind of a nice tempo card. It can break the game in some ways if like you board clear and then you play it. Which is really nice because sometimes like you're able to board clear, but then you just give initiative back to your opponent so they can still play the cards first and then you have to deal with them. But this card, if you do like run AoE and then you flame strike their board, for example, and then all of a sudden like 5 things died and you can suddenly play this for 1 mana, which is insane. So if I'm trying to think of like what classes specifically do that, and obviously like the classes that like constantly just keep clearing the board, clearing board, clearing board would like this card, and then they throw it to like flip a switch. So basically Freeze Mage, but Freeze Mage doesn't really need this. So right now, kind of in that, it's gonna be in a dragon deck when what I predict happening, what I've seen with these cards coming out too, is that the dragon deck is going to be very late game heavy and consist of like a lot of board clears and then just like a lot of bombs, and just try to hold on through the early game. And this is the card that would allow them to hold on through the early game. It's one of the big ones because if, like for example, I don't know, a Dragon Paladin, they're up against a Hunter and they consecrate, they clear the board, and then they play this, and then suddenly they're in the lead. So it's kind of like an answer to early game in a way, which is really interesting. I think it's actually kind of a powerful card. The thing is that it only has 4 health. So you really need this to cost, like if it costs 4, then it's a 4 mana 6/4, which is better than average, but still like it's not actually as good as it sounds because 4 health is pretty easy to deal with. It would need to cost 3 to really start to be like unfair. So you need to kill 3 things. And then just trading things also work. Like you trade 1 minion into another, then this costs 4. So you can kind of count on this costing 4 a lot of the time, which makes it pretty powerful. So in Constructed, that's how it'll work. In Arena, it'll be pretty powerful too, because again, minion trading game. So once the minions run into each other, if they kill each other or whatnot, it's down to costing 4. 4 mana, 6/4. Not bad. Pretty threatening. And if you can get it lower than that, then that's even better. So this would kind of be like your quick flip card in a class that runs a lot of AoE and tries to like be defensive. So this is in a defensive deck, and it's that card that allows you to turn the game to your favor. Really interesting card. Okay, next one is the Dragon King Crusher. 6 mana, 6/6 battle cry. If your opponent has 15 or less health, gain +3/+3. So basically, you think of Alexstrasza when you hear 15 or less health. So you Alexstrasza them on 1 turn. You got the 8/8 out. They have to deal with it. You know, they big game hunter it. And then the next turn you play this, and then you have a 9/9 out. And they already used the big game hunter. So what are they going to do with how are they going to deal with a 9/9? Problem is, it seems a little bit clunky. And the reason it seems a little bit clunky is because, like, you wouldn't put, like, if your opponent has 15 or less, if it was you had 15 or less, then it would be much better for classes that are like kind of defensive. Then you play this, you can taunt it up and whatnot, but it's your opponent has 15 or less. So basically, like, when you're in decks where you're getting your opponent's health down quick, you're being aggressive, and this isn't an aggressive card really. So it doesn't really seem to fit in that way. Like I was saying, it really just kind of works with Alexstrasza. But again, problem is, this is a 6 mana card, and all these dragons that we're seeing are so damn expensive. Like, at a certain point, you can't run them all. Like, you have to cut some of them. You can't put all dragons in the deck. It's just not going to work. It's like how Demon Lock works. Like, Demon Lock, right now, whatever you want to call it, Weird Lock, has like a few choice demons in it. It doesn't run them all. And I think this is going to be a victim of that. It's just too clunky. It's just not going to fit in anything. And while the 6 mana 9/9 is great value, Big Game Hunter is all over the place. And sometimes it's just better to have a 6 mana 6/6 than a 6 mana 9/9. As crazy as that sounds. The 6 mana 6/6 in Constructed just isn't going to cut it. In Arena, probably a pretty decent card. You know, it helps with all those cards that have dragon synergy, like if you have a dragon in your hand. And then it is a 6 mana 6/6, which is, you know, reasonable. It's a little worse than a ogre. But if you get that buff, then, you know, 9/9 really difficult to deal with. So it's gonna be, you know, pretty decent. You know, if you're looking for late game, you're gonna pick this card up in Arena. Finally, Nefarian. Nefarian is a 9 mana 8/8 legendary minion that has a battle cry. Add 2 random spells to your hand from your opponent's class. So before I talk anything about like how good the card is, this card's fun. Like 2 random spells, like who knows what you could get? You could be playing a druid and get 4 savage. You know, like we're gonna see some crazy videos with this card, just like some crazy like combos that get pulled off, because there's a reason why some cards are class specific. If they go into another class, then they could break the game. Like 4 savage in Hunter, can you even imagine that? And just in general, there are some cards that like work with other class things that just wouldn't be fair in those particular classes. So that's fun. That being said, this card's not very good. Another 9 mana dragon. We don't have enough of those already. There's just no room. I mean, let's face it. You'd rather run Ysera. You'd rather run Onyxia probably, which doesn't get run at all. You'd rather run Alexstrasza, depending on how your deck works, but it sees a lot more play. It's got some more utility to it. This card is basically it's just way too slow. You know, like how Onyxia is just way too slow. Like if not for a 9 mana in a minion, it needs to do something really big when it hits the board. Or like, yeah, like even Onyxia's thing, which is pretty big, just isn't enough. 9 mana, it needs to be like really something special. And Ysera can win you the game, and I suppose this can win you the game. Now I'm thinking about it like 2 random spells, but it's because they're random. Like you don't know what they could be. Like you could go up against a mage and get 2 arcane missiles, and then like a 9 mana 8/8 is just not good enough. You don't see Nosdormu play 9 mana 8/8. You know, even Gruul, which is like an 8 mana 7/7, and it keeps growing, so it's essentially an 8 mana 8/8. It's just too slow. It just when things that cost 8 mana, when they hit the board, they either need to be just like a crazy, sticky, annoying presence that your opponent can't allow like to leave, or they need to do something immediately, like have a battle cry that impacts the board, and this just doesn't. If it costed less, if it was a 7-drop that was like a 6/6, I could see this actually maybe see some play, but it just costs way too damn much, and that's the problem with the card. In Arena, it's probably fine. It's probably a good legendary. A lot of good legendaries. You can probably take it, and you know, you never know. It's got some longevity. You can. It's kind of like Battlecry draw 2 crappy cards. You can assume that they're not going to be as good as constructed cards. Like the fact is, you are drawing them, and Neptulon sees play, but it does 4, and it costs 7 the turn it comes out. Having a full turn filled with 1 card it just isn't enough. So I mean, if it was draw 2 cards, it might be enough, but because it's add 2 random cards and it's not consistent, people are going to run it at first and then realize it's just not consistent enough. Kind of the unstable portal dilemma, even though that allows your minions to cost less. So fun card though. And hopefully we get some sort of cheap dragon. It doesn't seem like we will, though. But either way, this is what we got so far. And that's almost all the neutral cards. So running out of cards to see, I believe, 17 of the 31. So more than halfway there. So what do you guys think of the expansion? You excited for it? I am. I'm just excited to play with this card and the other ones we've seen today. So I will be keeping you up to date with all the Blackrock Mountain card releases. Keep it here, and I'll see you next time.